Welcome back to Grain Kernels. I'm Noah Andriessen from Great Lakes Grain. I'd like to welcome back Jeff Sherman back here. What we should start off with today is U.S. planted acres. So obviously we've got lots of issues in the Dakotas and Minnesota, and with prevent plant creeping up and increased or decreased acres. Can I hear some of your thoughts on this?
Well, Monday's crop progress report showed that there was 1.66 million corn acres unseeded between the states of North and South Dakota and Minnesota. Now, the question is going forward, how many of those acres got seeded yet this week? Do we lose some of those acres when it's all said and done? Just based off of that data alone, you could make a strong argument that corn acres could be down 1 million acres from the USDA's current estimate. But with that being said, you could say that we're probably going to pick up some corn acres in some of the other corn producing states, but would it be enough to offset maybe what we lose in Dakotas and Minnesota? I don't think we probably pick up enough acres to offset we're going to lose up in the Dakotas. So I think when it's all said and done, I wouldn't be surprised to see corn acres down from the current USDA estimate.
Now we've got a WASDE report coming out tomorrow through the USDA. What's that going to tell us, Jeff?
Obviously there's lots of uncertainties out there, but I'm personally anticipating a fairly quiet report. I think the USDA might take a wait and see approach, as at the end of the month, we have our acreage report and our quarterly stocks report coming up at the end of the month. Corn export sales were pretty strong in March and April. We were averaging well over 44 million bushels per week during that time period, but we've seen our corn export sales tail off here recently. You could make an argument that corn exports need to be increased at some point in time. But my opinion is, with the recent slowdown in sales, I think the USDA probably take a wait and see approach before adjusting our corn export sales for old crop. Same thing with ethanol. Ethanol's margins have been good, but ethanol, like everybody else, is struggling with logistics, which at times has caused production rates to slow down. Once again I think the USDA might take a wait and see approach before adjusting the ethanol usage number. We're starting to drive the summer driving season, which would argue for increased ethanol usage over the next few months. But the other side of that is, as everybody knows, gas prices are at historically high levels. And I think that's going to start creating some demand destruction. So once again, I think the USDA, if they do tweak numbers, it'll be very minor and take more of a wait and see approach in tomorrow's report. I don't anticipate any changes in the feed and residual usage number. They'll wait until the June stocks report, and that will give us show us what the third quarter feed usage was. As far as new crop, NASH usually doesn't make any new crop revisions at this time of year, so I'm not expecting any changes at all in the new crop supply and demand, and if so, they will be very, very minimal. Same thing with soybeans. I don't anticipate a whole lot of changes in tomorrow's WASDE report for soybeans. The trade's going to be paying close attention to what they do with soybean exports, because our soybean export sales year to date is almost 3% of the USDA current estimate. That being said, shipments are going to have to remain strong clear through the end of the marketing year in order to meet the USDA target. So once again I think the USDA will take a wait and see approach and see how shipments start to perform here over the next few weeks. Soybean crush obviously has been strong. You could make an argument that The crush number could be increased slightly at some point in time. I'm not necessarily in that camp. Same thing there. Logistics have hampered the crushers at times. We're getting into the maintenance season. I think the USDA has the crush number pegged fairly close. And on wheat, pretty much rinse and repeat of what I've already said, not looking for a whole lot of changes there anyway. Of course, we just started the new wheat marketing year. I think long term, though, I think wheat ending stocks could be something slightly higher than what they're currently estimated at. Just due to the high prices, it's difficult for me to believe that feed usage of wheat will be up a whole lot than the current USDA's estimate. And new crop wheat sales so far remain disappointing despite everything that's going on in the Black Sea region.
Yeah, with Russia and Ukraine out there, that really puts a lot of stress on the market and lots of potential issues that could come up that we're not expecting. But between stolen wheat and Ukrainian output decreasing, what do you think we're going to see from the future here? Do you think maybe some of these conversations with Turkey is probably just underhanded and waiting for Ukraine or wait for Russia to steal more grain? Or do you think this is a legitimate issue?
I unfortunately feel that the whole Russia, Ukraine, Black Sea issue is going to drag out for quite some time. Of course, the market, the trade, everybody remains hopeful that something can come out of the talks that's going on in Turkey. I would be very, very surprised if anything positive comes out of those discussions. It's my understanding Ukraine wasn't invited to participate in it. And the stuff that I read is it's, in order to create a safe corridor, we'll have to have some demining, and Ukraine, I don't think, is going to want to demine those ports out of fear that would open up an avenue for Russia to move ships in and bomb them even more. And so, unfortunately, I don't see anything coming out of those talks other than maybe just Russia using it as propaganda to blame the West and NATO.
Yeah, fair enough. And we've experienced kind of what feels like a market high earlier. Obviously, it's tough to predict whether that's going to be the tops. And what are some pressures and resistance that could really drive the market going forward, whether it be up or down?
Well, obviously, some kind of resolution with the Black Sea situation would certainly suck a lot of premium out of the marketplace in a hurry. And of course, the other side of that, ongoing conflict there in the Black Sea is going to remain a supportive factor in the marketplace. Weather, we're approaching that time of year where weather becomes a huge factor in the marketplace. And right now there's some weather models out there that's showing a pressure ridge developing that will bring some warm temps to the Midwest next week. The question is, does that pressure ridge hang around for a long term, or does it dissipate fairly quickly? There are some weather forecasters out there that think that ridge is going to hang around for a while, and we're going to see some 90-degree to 100-degree temps next week. Right now, the crop in the Midwest needs the heat, but it doesn't need the heat to hang around forever and the rains go away. So, obviously weather, huge factor here over the next few months. But right now it's really difficult, given the situation throughout the world, to find a whole lot of bearish news.
And when we talk about the world supply and demand, obviously the spreads and the carries show that you should be storing wheat this year, but there's also a lot of surprise around soybeans. What are your thoughts on that?
Soybeans will remain tight next year as well. Demand is strong, and I anticipate fairly tight stocks next year as well. There's I think you can make a strong case that old crop stocks will end up somewhere 200 million to 220. Of course, that reduces carry in for next year. The reality is we need strong yields, soybean, corn yields, wheat yields, not only in North America, but throughout the world.
Now, Western Canada sounds to be having a bit of a tougher planting again this year, and hopefully they do get the weather they need to put that crop in the ground and have a good growing season. But what have you heard from the Canadian Midwest?
Same thing that you're hearing. Western Canada is having some issues, too much water, struggling to get the crop in, probably losing some acres there as well, I would assume. The flip flop of that is we've been exporting a sizable amount of corn to Canada this year due to the production issues in Western Canada last year. And if they can't get it in the ground, we will see decent exports of corn going to Western Canada again this next year as well.
Now, it was great having you on today. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you guys next time.